I started Youth4Jobs 4 years back to train youth with disabilities for jobs and to get companies to do this because it makes business sense, not out of sympathy or empathy. And the team which does it, my colleague Anila is here, some of our funders are here. Anil sitting right in the front. Um, so the team which did that, many of the people know me as the person who set up the country's first skilling mission for the government of AP, a very progressive government. They asked me, a private sector person, to lead it and to start it. And when there are no models, so there's no cut and paste, so you just innovate. And it was great fun. Built it to one of the largest skilling missions of the country with great transparency in the use of IT. So we work both with grassroots and at policy levels. We have a clear second gen leaders available, and a third gen is now getting groomed up. And most importantly, we do believe that giving a job to one member of the family takes the entire family out of poverty in a sustained manner. And that's really what drives us to do as vulnerable a segment of people we can work with and to link them with jobs. What was the context when we went? First is we looked at the population. There seems to be something like 50 to 60 million, says the World Bank and WHO. But the work was so difficult and so challenging, much more challenging than I ever dreamt. If you looked at the youth themselves, and we work mostly with youth from the villages, they have incredibly low self-esteem because their parents think that they can't work, that they're not productive. The community thinks so, so they come to our classes believing that they cannot. If you look at companies, for them, most of them, except if they're multinationals and who have an inclusive policy, and there were very, very few of them, IT is progressive there, they believed that they didn't know how to do it, or they would ask us questions like, is it expensive? How do I do it? Where are they? Are they unhealthy? And then if you looked at trainings, the special educators who needed, they're all government trained, most of them go abroad. And those who are here, they believe that the youth, they don't know what skilling is, and they believe that the youth can't be productive themselves. And the government, of course, gives so many sops to them that it does not encourage them to stand on their own feet. Like Tamil Nadu, if you see, land is given, TV is given, computer is given, and the parents just hold on to this youth, not letting that youth go because of the kind of incentives which are given for the youth with disability. And none of this is to encourage the youth to stand on their own feet. So this is a kind of ecosphere we see in the country. Now, of course, it's changed a little bit because our Prime Minister, the Act has got passed and accessibility audit, but still it's a long, long way to go. This is our approach, and much of it has evolved. We've learned, we're still learning. The heart of it is our training, our brick and mortar training centers which we send, keeping 1 year on the youth with disabilities and 1 year of the markets which we understand because we worked over a decade long here. It's a 60 days module, and we call it actually a portable model because what it does is it invests in the youth, in skills which the youth needs, like life skills, softer skills, employability skills, computers, English communication, and also gives them some kind of sectorial skills. And after that, companies come and absorb the youth from the training centers. We do use technology, which is especially important. For example, we recently set up for the blind coaching classes, and there we use JAWS and whatever is needed for them. Advocacy, I'm sorry, all the slides seem to be key-womp, is some technology glitch, I think. Advocacy with the community is the heart of our program, and there we link with governments also because they have the last mile connects which we can't afford. And we have a mobilization kit which we give to different kinds of people, NGOs, governments. We have youth themselves with disabilities who are our mobilizers because they know where these youth are located and bring them to our training centers to say that, listen, these are trainings with the difference, you can get a job. And I've never seen this kind of, parents totally disbelieve. They come to check out, are we for real? Because they've been fooled so often, and they also cannot believe that the youth with disability can get a job. We also do policy studies and research. In fact, the last one which we did was BCG, commissioned by the government. It's called the Road to Inclusion. Before that, I'd done the ILO study. Both these are like landmarks in this area. And for the companies, increasingly, we are becoming a one-stop shop in this area. So these are the kind of things we do in the companies. First is we realize what companies need is needed, not boring things to tell them what disability is about, but fun-filled workshops. So we started this 2.5 hours to a 4-hour fun-filled workshop, and we've done it in places, for example, in remote areas of Coimbatore, to Lungi, people coming, looking very bored because the CEO has told them to come to the workshop. By the end of it, believe me, the same guys put their hands up when I told them who all wants to do a sign language workshop. So it's a very exciting, games, fun-filled. Of course, the youngsters like Googlers love it. So, with the young, it becomes really interesting and a lot of fun. And these lead to one of our largest, actually, job placement programs. We also do a role matrix because companies say, yeah, we want to be meaningful. We know you can help us, but tell us what to do next. So we do a role matrix working with the business heads because quite often the business heads are the ones who are difficult to crack. So we work with the business heads with their support, and then we say which role, which disability can be mapped against. We do simple workplace solutions and a whole series of services which are emerging as we realize that there's a gap in a company. And this is becoming a very, very exciting work for us. In fact, today we have one of the largest company outreach program, right from Ahmednagar to Nagpur to Jharkhand to the larger metros where we do these services for them. But of course, it's a long way to go. So what is the kind of impact? Remember, we are 4 years young. We started with one center, we have 18 centers. We started in one state, we are in 10 states today. We've trained 10,000 youth with disabilities. We put 60 to 70% of them in jobs. And then we did an analysis of saying, wow, where is the rest? What's happening to the rest of them? And then I realized what's actually happening is that the youth with disabilities, every one of them aspire for government jobs because there's a reservation for them. So for example, our new one for the visually impaired is coaching them for government jobs, okay? So what they do is, if before it took him 5 years and he wasted 5 years of his cracking the government exam, today he goes back and with the skills which we taught him, he passes it. So about 125,000 community members. These are the kind of companies we work with, and we've opened youth sectors. Manufacturing for us is very large. We started with one Pepsi plant. They measured attrition and productivity. Today we are in all their plants. We're with Kellogg, we're with Valio. Manufacturing is becoming a very big sector. In the retail, the interesting change we've done is that customer interface jobs, we're grooming them for, like cashiers, which really helps in inclusion and mainstreaming this. Banking is going to become a very big sector for us. Health, textiles, you can see it's expanding every day. So while we help companies, what actually keeps us going is the impact which has on the youth. I've just come back from a retreat in Ahmedabad where I've taken two of our youth. One is Kiran. She's actually blind. She's from Surat and a mill worker's daughter. Every time she did anything, her parents would tell her, why do you want to talk? You're a girl, we are poor, and top of that, you're blind. Okay, 3 things which are incredible. So when she wanted to do her 12th grade, actually, she took time off, did embroidery, and with that money, she did her 12th grade. She came to our training center with great protests from her parents, and we put her into a local retailer. She earns about 11,000 rupees. Now, what has that done? Her father doesn't have a job. The mill has closed. So she runs the family now, and she educates her younger brother for engineering. What has that done on the family? The whole equations of the family has been turned completely upside down, family, community, and she herself, what a voice she has. Every time in her retreat there were pauses, she has a tremendous photographic memory and knows poetry. So everyone called her our Shairi queen because she would keep saying poetry, there. And then I realized this is what a job, it's not economic. It adds meaning to their lives, and it makes, in the process, our own life much more meaningful. So what I would request all of you is, if you want to be on this journey of meaning with us, please join us. How can you support us? Out-of-box solutions. This field really is so new that it needs out-of-box solutions. And let me give you a simple example. I wrote a book, Bloomsbury published it, basically, I think, because of the kind of work I've done. But today, that book is going into its second edition. Ganesh gave me a small little write-up of that book. Companies are actually, both nationally and internationally, are asking me to do workshops around it for inclusion. So what we need is, we need out-of-box solutions. We need industry association partners. We need funder partners, and I'm using that word because the funder has to understand the kind of very difficult work which we did, which we do. And it's a long-term partnership. It should not be a 1 year, but a 5 year. Someone who encourages us to keep measuring our work because we are passionate about that. But you don't get funds for measuring your impact, for God's sake. I just can't understand that. Okay, I know Rockefeller and the others do it, but most don't. So it's incredible, that you want transparency, but there are no funds for that. And technology solutions. Everyone carries, wherever they travel, some technology for me, saying, Meera, you work for the disabled. Here it is. So we have this bewildering, amount of technology available, and we don't have time to look at what works. Some of them are in the labs, some of them are working in small pilots. So if we can have someone to look at this, this would be wonderful. I think this is a win-win for all stakeholders more than any other work, and love all of you to be a partner of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Meera. Truly, truly wonderful presentation. Questions? Come on, don't let our last presenter down. Come on, guys.
Everyone
Yeah,
must be
please.
so tired, Ganesh.
No. No tiredness. Govind, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just a question. Very, very impressive. I think for many reasons. What's holding up your growth or your ability to have a greater impact? Things you want, but what's holding it up the most?
I think that what we do in terms of spreading our work is, one, we do a brick and mortar training centers, and there we set up our own, and we're trying the NGO model to build the capacities. We choose our NGOs carefully because they have to be passionate about the work and passionate for change and transparent. But what we find, however, is that most of the NGOs who are in remote areas, they don't understand markets, and it's a real struggle for us. The work is difficult first, and then on top of that, to make them understand markets is also a struggle. So, so we are thinking, what else? What are the other ways in which we can scale?
Any other questions? Yeah.
In our training centers, which are everywhere, we look at 3: locomotor, speech and hearing impaired, and low vision. In our coaching center, which we've started now, that's for the visual impaired. Our work is market-led. We find for intellectual disabilities, at present, there's very little traction for that. So when that, at some time, and we're only 4 years young, give us time.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Why don't you catch Meera offline? I think definitely there should be some possibility of making it. Thank you very much, Meera.
Thank you, Ganesh.